In this video, we will be answering these questions. How do you check in chess? What is check in chess? And what are the rules of check in chess? Please make sure you watch the previous videos before this one, because you'll learn many more concepts in chess which will turn you from zero to hero. I will leave the link of those chess videos in the description below. Now, onto the video. Check is buried within the word checkmate. It means when your king is in danger. It is the only time where you have to do something. We're not asking, we're telling. You have to get your king out of danger. But before we learn how to get the king out of danger, we first need to learn how to put the king in danger. The first way, or a method I can see using the rook, is going from h1 to the square h4. As you can see, the rook is aiming at the king. But that's not the only way. Another way I can see with the rook is going to the square e1. Again, the rook is aiming at the king. If I can get this arrow straight. There we go. The rook is aiming at the king. Now, in this situation, we have to move the king. Well, actually we don't. There are 3 different ways to get your king out of danger. And an abbreviation for that is CPR. Now, you might have heard that abbreviation before, which means that you have to help someone. And we have to help the king. The 3 ways are capture, protect, and run away. Now, in this scenario, can you tell me which one or which ones can white do? Pause the video and let's figure out. Okay, well, there are 2 options. The first one is to run away to anywhere that isn't on the C file, which is basically anything that isn't on this file or this column. Or the best way is to take the piece checking you. This bishop can take this rook on the square C1. And if we do that, we'll be up ahead a piece, which is not very good for black. Now, if I go back to the square h1, can you tell me how many times can black check the white king? Pause the video and let's figure out. Okay, well, the answer is 7 times. Let's start with the rook. The ones we have already covered are going to the square e1 or to the square h4. Another way is with the bishop. The bishop on the black bishop on the square c8 can go to the square b7 or to the square f5. Both times they'll be checking the white king. Another way we can check using the knight is going to the square d6 or going to the square f6. Now, that's not all. That's 6, but there's still one more. Like I said, there's 7. Another way is, remember, on the starting row, pawns can go 2 squares. So I can push the pawn on the square f7 to the square f5. And that's 7 ways to check the white king. Now, let's say the bishop goes to the square b7. The bishop is aiming at the king, and we have to do something about it. We have to do C, P, or R. Let's start with the R. The bishop is aiming on this diagonal. Right here, if I draw an arrow. The bishop is aiming on this diagonal. So basically, anywhere that isn't on this diagonal is fine. So if I go to the square e5, the king is safe. But if I go to the square d5, then my king is not fine, because in this situation there are 2 squares that is impossible for white to go to, and those squares are d5 and c6, because the bishop is aiming right at the king on those 2 squares. So basically, any square that is not those 2 squares, d5 and c6, which are all these squares, the king can go to. Now, let's run away. We can do that. Can we protect? We can't protect the king because our bishop is on a dark square. So our bishop is on a dark square, which means, and the black bishop attacking us is on a light square. So that means this bishop can never physically get to the squares c6 or d5. What about the knight? Well, the knight can't do that either, because the only squares it can go to are